The first impeachment trial for a statewide official in more than 100 years has ended in an acquittal. Good evening, I'm Blake Hansen. State senators stuck mostly to party lines in deciding not to kick Attorney General Ken Paxton out of office. He has been sidelined since May when House Republicans led an effort to impeach him on accusations of bribery and abuse of office.
Members, I've been informed by Senator Birdwell, the chairman of the Rules Committee, that you are now prepared to vote.
After roughly 2 weeks of trial and 10 hours of deliberations, senators returned to the chamber floor Saturday morning to cast their ballots. Attorney General Ken Paxton was not there to learn his fate.
Parker, nay. Hughes, nay.
One by one, the senators' votes were read on each of the 16 impeachment articles. The votes would fall mostly along party lines, with only two Republicans, Kelly Hancock of North Richland Hills and Bob Nichols of Jacksonville, sometimes voting to convict. It was far from the 9 Republicans needed to convict and remove Paxton, and far from what we saw in the House in May, when more than 70% of Republicans there voted to impeach.
Attorney General Warren Kenneth Paxton Jr. is hereby, at this moment, reinstated to office.
Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick concluded his duties as the trial's judge by sharing his first thoughts on the impeachment effort. He did not mince words.
Millions of taxpayer dollars have been wasted on this impeachment.
Patrick called on constitutional changes that would better safeguard elected officials' rights in any future impeachment, and he took aim at Republicans in the Texas House.
The Speaker and his team rammed through the first impeachment of a statewide official in Texas in over 100 years, while paying no attention to the precedent that the House set in every other impeachment before.
Patrick's speech sparked criticism that he tipped the scales in Paxton's favor. Republican House Speaker Dade Phelan writing, "I find it deeply concerning that after weeks of claiming he would preside over this trial in an impartial and honest manner, Lieutenant Governor Patrick would conclude by confessing his bias and placing his contempt for the People's House on full display. The inescapable conclusion is that today's outcome appears to have been orchestrated from the start, cheating the people of Texas of justice." House impeachment managers echoed those comments.
Yes, you would always believe in a trial that the judge is not aware of the outcome, but he did seem to have prepared notes ready to attack members of the House and the House process.
Paxton did not appear before cameras. He says he'll do so next week. In a statement, he wrote, "Today the truth prevailed. The truth could not be buried by mudslinging politicians or their powerful benefactors. I've said many times, seek the truth, and that is what was accomplished." Paxton is not past his legal troubles. An FBI investigation into his activity is continuing. Sources tell the Associated Press that a grand jury in San Antonio heard testimony in the case as recently as last month. And with the impeachment trial over, a state judge is expected to set a trial date for securities fraud charges that Paxton was first indicted on in 2015.
They ought to dismiss it. If they don't dismiss it, we'll try them and beat them there just like we beat them here.